Two environmentalists, these teams. They were recycling like crazy. Congestion, confusion in that midfield. Chaos today. Just no space. These man in the first half, Arsenal winning in the end, but no chances for Manchester City in that first half. No shots. Arsenal winning on penalties, 1-1 at full time. It was pedestrian. It was pedantic. It was pre-season. That's what it was. It was pre-season. That was the Community Shield in all its glory. Now, it is glory for Arsenal in the end. They do win, but it says in the book, it says in the script that when you win the Community Shield, you don't win the league. 18-19 is the only time it's happened for Man City, and maybe they just fell into the trap. Maybe they just took the bait, because Man City have no qualms, no questions, no queries about how to do the business when the time comes, when it's actually necessary. But I have to say, my main takeaways from that game, let's get into it. First of all, I was very interested to see how Timber would play at left back, inverting, of course, because he played there, as the Arsenal fans were letting me know in the comments of the watch-along, against Barca and Monaco. Now, it's funnily enough that when he played there, I was always thinking to myself, okay, is Rice going to move up the pitch? Is he going to start to play in the role that Xhaka played, and that's going to compensate for Timber tucking in? Otherwise, you've just got this congestion in the midfield. But it didn't really appear to me that Rice was that high up the pitch, and he didn't really play the role that Xhaka played last season. It didn't really transpire that way. So it just felt kind of unnecessary in terms of in possession. Arsenal just had a lot of guys in that kind of part of the pitch, and it wasn't really... It wasn't flowing, and you could see that Arsenal just weren't playing their normal game. They weren't able to get on the ball as much, even though in the end, I think this ended up in a 55, kind of 45 split between Man City just leaning towards their side. But in the first half, for the majority of it, it felt like Man City had control of the ball. But it was a lot of recycling, like I said. It was very, very, very good for the environment. It was just out to the wingers, back in. You know, there was no penetration, there was no direction, there was nothing cutting edge from either team in that first half, particularly Manchester City, who didn't have a single shot on target. Alvarez and Haaland just didn't get any shots off. They couldn't. Every time Man City tried to play that ball through, credit to Arsenal's defence, you have to say, every time they tried to play that ball through, they just could not get it through. And I think Haaland, around 61 minutes, I was looking at his touches, he had only 12 touches. Sorry, only 20 touches. He didn't have many touches at all. Sorry, it wasn't 20. It was literally 11 touches. And maybe a couple of them in the penalty area. So without De Bruyne on that pitch, it just wasn't direct enough from Man City. It was too pedantic, like I said, and they just could not find Haaland in dangerous areas. He ended up getting subbed off. In the first half, though, Arsenal did have a couple of chances in the end. They managed to carve out a couple of chances in the last 15 minutes of that half, and both of them fell to Kai Havertz, and both of them came down the right-hand side. And again, Akanji, you can see that long term, this is why he's not going to be playing on that left-hand side. It just wasn't as smooth on and off the ball in that position. You know, it was a definite target for Arsenal to go down that side and to attack that side and to cause problems. And I feel like if anything, Arsenal didn't get as much change out of Akanji as they should have today. You look at the relationship between Ben White, of Odegaard, of Saka last season, that trio down that right-hand side was just infectious. That trio was, the chemistry was 100%, all green lines for everyone. We didn't get enough of that today. You know, Saka, he was okay. You know, like I said, created a couple of opportunities down that side, and they both fell to Kai Havertz. The first one, I'm allow Kai Havertz a little bit because it comes across and he does a full rotation, and he just manages to circulate himself and then get the shot off. So I wasn't expecting crazy power. Let's give credit to Ortega for the save. But the second one, yeah, I know it's on your right foot, but how many more passes do you want? Maybe you should be doing the passing. Maybe you should come back a little, because up front, this guy is just not clinical. And I'm thinking to myself, if Trossard had started today, or if Nketiah had started today for Arsenal up front, I think one of those two guys are bagging one of those chances, and Arsenal are taking the lead a lot earlier in this game than they did. And Kai Havertz didn't win any of his aerial duels. He lost all 4 of them today. So if that was the reasoning behind him starting, then it didn't make sense. It didn't work in the end, because I'm pretty sure Trossard can do the link-up play, and Eddie, I don't think, is as bad at it as people make out. So yeah, just not the fox in the box, not the clinical finisher. We knew that already coming into this, and positionally, it's your problem. Let's see if he actually plays as a midfielder more often. He did play as a midfielder later on in the game when Nketiah came on and went up front, but again, he didn't really have any impact. So I'm interested. I'm very interested to see, because I was speaking on it, and I think, listen, if he doesn't get off to a great start, I'm interested to see if politics plays a part in his amount of starts, because Arteta has to kind of justify buying him. He obviously backed getting him. You know, he put his neck on the line for that signing. But if he's not the best fit for the team in terms of getting results, in terms of performances, and if he's not playing particularly impressive, then you got to bench him, right? But it's very difficult as a manager to bench your new signing that you are trying to show justification as to why you signed him. So there's a bit of politics in there. So we'll see. I'm sure Havertz is going to start the season. Jesus is out. Don't think he should be playing as a striker. Everybody knows he's not a striker. You said live and direct in broad daylight in front of cameras that you're taking him in as a midfielder. So for him to be playing up front, it's a bit mad. And it didn't work today because he had opportunities, he didn't take them. So he's not a threat, in my opinion. You know, he's scuffing shots or headers. He's just not giving you clean cut finishing. So for me, doesn't make any sense. He needs to come back into midfield, but will there be any space? If you're playing with Rice, Partey and Odegaard, will there be any space? Now for me, listen, Timber tucking in with Rice and Partey in that midfield as two, you know, double pivot options makes less sense. I think Tierney, I know he came on, he had an issue with the goal. We're going to talk about it, but it makes more sense for me to have an overlapping left back who's going to, you know, stretch the pitch high and wide and give you width, than to have someone tucking in and cutting in when you've got Partey and Rice on the pitch. The whole reason why it worked with Zinchenko last season is because he tucked in alongside Partey, and then you pushed up. You had Xhaka and Odegaard in the half spaces, and you had that box midfield. If Rice and Partey are in line with each other, which they were for a decent amount of this game, and then you're tucking in a fullback, you've now just got congestion. Unless Rice is actually really going to push up the pitch, but I didn't really see him too high. So it's a strange one. But yeah, listen, if Zinchenko's come back into this team later on, then maybe Kai in the left 8 position might get a little bit more joy when he's getting those passes, you know, played into him. But let's see. At the moment, that midfield wasn't really rocking today, and the chance creation felt the brunt of that. I don't think Arsenal had an issue last season scoring goals. As much as we talk about the central striker not maybe giving enough goals, there was an injury to Jesus. I still think he can get 15 goals, but the wide players chipped in. But that midfield was ticking. It was ticking and it was moving. It was fluent. If that becomes disturbed and, you know, kind of disjointed, then the team collapses a bit. Every other position, no problem, but yeah, in there, not great. Now for Man City, like I said, it was kind of quiet today. There was no real big chances created for the forwards. You know, Kova played a lot deeper. Obviously, he is the direct Gundogan replacement, but I think, you know, Pep knows immediately off the bat that he's not giving you the final third kind of, you know, clear finishing, you know, clear even passing of the same level of Gundogan. It's just not there. So deeper, no problem. He did have a few moments where he kind of, you know, dragged and dribbled the ball into final third positions, but mainly you want him deeper. So it was a little bit more of a flat 4, and then it just became a kind of 4-2-4 for Manchester City. And yeah, it just wasn't the same in terms of, there was no cutting edge. Like I said, no De Bruyne to really just play that pass, and it just wasn't able to kind of penetrate through that Arsenal defence. But once the changes were made, to be fair, they looked a bit better, and Palmer comes on and he scores an incredible goal. The goal from Cole Palmer is just out of this world, and he had a moment just before that where his shot was deflected by Rice and went out. So he was knocking on the door prior to that, but that shot was fantastic. Curler, just a Leroy Sané-esque bender into the top corner. Ramsdale nowhere near it. I think they even gave him man the match just for that alone. That's how good it was. And it was just an incredible strike. And to cut in, I've seen Cole Palmer play on the left wing a lot for City in cup games last season, Carabao Cup, etc., FA Cup. But to see him on that right wing, you've got to be able to cut in as a left footer and whip those shots. And he bent that bastard beautifully. That's what he did. It was nasty. It's disgusting, disrespectful. It was nasty, and it was lovely to see, because the game needed quality. It needed something. It needed a moment to lift people and to get them off their seats, and that's exactly what that did. And then, listen, Arsenal, to be fair to them, even though, you know, it was funny to see that potentially they wouldn't be able to beat City again. And this was kind of more of an important game for Arsenal than it was for City. Not because of the reward of the Community Shield. I don't think anybody really cares about this trophy unless you want to add it shamelessly to Italia or anything. But the Shield is the Shield, right? This ain't Roman Reigns. This ain't WWE. The Shield is the Shield, right? It's not that impressive. But I think Arsenal, just to put a marker down and to say we can beat City after last season losing 3-3, that was important today. And to be fair to them, you know, up until the banter stopped when they scored, Trossard coming on, bringing a bit more, you know, directness, taking that shot, even though it wasn't really on, you could say, on his left foot, but he just took that shot, deflected off Akanji, goes into the back of the net. Ortega is very unlucky. There's nothing he can do about it. He's going one way, the shot goes the other. Up until that point, Ortega had a really good game. People could give him some shouts maybe for man of the match for the saves that he'd made in positions where the forward should have probably scored. But yeah, you have to give credit. They deserve to get something in normal time, because they, in my opinion, created more big chances than Man City in the game. Man City, like I said, outside of Rodri, who was taking shots from distance, was trying to lob goalkeepers. He must have thought he saw Onana in goal, which is mad because skin complexion wise, Ramsdale and Onana couldn't be more polar opposites. Do you know what I'm saying? They couldn't look more different. But the brother was trying to lob him like it was pre-season. He's taking them long ranges, hitting them drives. And Rodri was the biggest threat actually for Man City from a goal scoring standpoint in that game, up until obviously the goal for Man City from Palmer. So that just tells you all you need to know about Man City going forward. They weren't at their brilliant best. But like I said, it was Arsenal's game. Man City, they don't need to win this. They didn't win it. Obviously on penalties, Arsenal go on and do the business. Some great saves from Ramsdale in the shootout. Just telling Raya, you know, watch yourself. Don't think you're going to come for my spot too soon. But it was more important for Arsenal to do this type of, you know, win than it was for City. City, it makes no difference to them whether they win or they don't win. It doesn't do anything for them. They know what they're doing when business starts. But I would have liked to have seen for Pep, De Bruyne and Haaland actually link up at some point in this game. But he took off Haaland as soon as he was bringing on De Bruyne. So we never got to see that direct kind of out ball to Haaland, which had done so well at the Etihad when those two played as a two in the transition for one of the goals last season in the title run-in. We didn't see that today because he hooked him off, and next thing you know, De Bruyne's coming on. So yeah, in terms of debutants, Rice, nothing particularly special. Cover, nothing particularly special. Timber was actually good, I think, but did he make logistically the most sense to play? I don't know. I feel like I said, an overlapper would have maybe made a bit more sense, but he's playing in that position today, and you know he didn't do anything wrong. Havertz, nothing great from him. I'm not gonna lie, not a great start. Should not have played up front. Just odd from Arteta to play him up there. We all know he's not a striker. He can't shoot, and you've got strikers on the bench. So like I said, I think you would have been 1-0 up before if he wasn't on that striker position. But we move. That's it really, not more to it, pretty simple. We move to the Premier League next week. I'm looking forward to it. The marker's been laid down, I guess. It hasn't though, really, has it? I don't know, I don't think it has been. It's one of these kind of games where, you know, you live and you learn, you move on. You're trying to piece together your season and you're trying to put together some sort of, you know, solid performance. But you can see there's a lot of improvement to be done here. I think once Vardy comes into this Man City team, you know, that whole left-hand side is going to look a lot cleaner and a lot smoother. And they could do with another winger, and they could do with De Bruyne on the pitch. But with Arsenal, that midfield, some tough decisions maybe to be made. And yeah, just don't play Havertz up front. And that's it. So yeah, in a bit, people, make sure you smash up the likes and subscribe. I'll see you next time. In a bit, people. Peace.